Today on Lead with Love, that's learn, offer, value, and educate, we're going to talk about X-Plane 12, a flight simulator. And then we're going to, every so often from that demo, take a little break and we're going to talk about geographic stuff, just to kind of split it up, give you an idea of what's going on in the world. I think if you're going to be a pilot and you're going to do those types of things, you need to understand geography and the idea behind it. So today, X-Plane 12, and then a little bit more about geography. Lead with love. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Greco. For the next 30 minutes, we'll talk about learn, offer, value, and educate, and how to understand how sharing helps people. And today, what we're going to share about is the X-Plane 12 demo. And I'm really excited about this. And the reason is because I'm a pilot. I'm a private pilot. I only have about 200 hours in the air. 20 of those hours or more, 22, 23, are in R-22 helicopters. And, you know, I can't even state how much fun it is to fly helicopters. It's so challenging, and yet it's so much fun. I think the other day, the instructor, his name is Dave Adams. They work at Total Flight Solutions, just to give them a shout out, by the way. Total Flight Solutions out at Triangle, Triangle Executive, which is in Lewisburg, North Carolina. And they, KLHZ is the ICAO, the International Civil Aeronautics Organization designator for that airfield. But it's just amazing. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. So I thought, well, but it's expensive. Helicopter lessons are expensive. I mean, they'll be more than willing to tell you that. The R-22 is less expensive than the R-44. R-44 is 4-seater. R-22 is a 2-seater. But it's just really a lot of fun. So I thought, how can I save money and yet, build my skills and be able to do those things? And I got X-Plane 12. Now I had X-Plane 11, which was really good. I thought, X-Plane 12 is just fantastic. It really is. It really is a good. I mean, everyone told me about. Oh, you ought to get. You ought to get Flight Simulator. And I said, no, Flight Simulator is way too memory intensive. It doesn't do the things X-Plane 12 does. I really like X-Plane 12. It's cheaper. It's not as memory intensive. It has, you have to have a good, solid video card. And what I did was, and it was interesting, my son-in-law had this old video card, and I said, "You still using that video card?" He says, "No." He says, "Do you want it?" I said, "Sure." So I can't remember what it is, a GTX 400 or something like that. And I got a container. I got a place to put it, and it would interface with the computer. And I got got one of these little mini computer things, And I hooked this thing up, and it works great. I mean, it's amazing. I made sure it had a lightning connector, and it did. And man, I'll tell you, this thing is just fantastic. So, and I'll show you that. I'll be more than happy to show you that later on. Maybe I'll have a special on the firmware and how that all is hooked up. But basically, I put X-Plane 12 on, and X-Plane 12 has been great. So what I want to do is just show you a little bit about X-Plane 12 and and what exactly happens at certain times on it. And the reason why I like it so much, I think X-Plane 12 is something that is neat because you can make it mimic the actual controls on your helicopter. So I know how the R-22 feels, the controls feel. So I wanted to try to mimic as much as possible that feeling so that whatever amount of time that I spent on the R-22 in the simulator, it would be like taking a lesson, being able to practice the things that the instructor wants me to practice. So, I mean, it really is great. And so anyway, so this is the beginning of it right here, the basic, splash screen and different aspects and what goes on there. And so what I wanted to do is just show you how this thing goes. Now, this is, you resume last flight, new flight, load, saved flight, which is kind of nice because then you can actually go back and forth. You don't have to worry about setting things up. A flight school and different settings. Now, I'll tell you how to get into settings when you're just about ready to go fly. But so basically, we're going to hit new flight here, and we're going to do a new flight, and then it gives you a ton of different things, different areas you can take a look at, and the different aircraft that you can use is just really there's a lot of them here, and you can see right here, you can see that this is the R22. I have an R22 beta to another. I put another one on here, Sikorsky, and then what they call V Skylabs R44. Now the V Skylabs R44 is pretty good. I shouldn't say it's pretty good. It's actually really good. I like the R44. But the thing is, I wanted to get certified in the R22 before I went on to the R44, because the R44 is about $200 more an hour, and I just can't afford that. So I just thought I'd do that. Now the nice thing about it is Triangle's North Executive. So there's mine, KLHZ, right? 3D features, which is great. And I'm on P37. Now what you do is you double click this, and if you double click it, you can find out where you want to start. I always want to start on the ramp. Otherwise, it'll put you on the runway. And the helicopters just don't start on the runway. They just don't. I mean, so that's the way that is. So so what I'm going to do is there's the helicopter I'm going to be using. Oh, by the way, you can make this like different colors. If you, instead of default, you could make it like red and white, blue and white, whatever. I mean, if that's your thing. Also, it says start with engines running. If you have that situation where you say, I don't need any help with the checklist. And this, I've kind of went on this before in another show, where you can, this is an excellent way to practice the checklist before you get into a real helicopter. I mean, everything works on this thing. So you can actually go through it and go through the checklist. So when you get in the real helicopter, you can look around, you can make sure the brake is off, you can make sure the map light is off. You go to the left, you make sure that the fuel is on. You go to circuit breakers across the bottom. You make sure that's done. Make sure that the controls are free, and then at that point, you can actually go through the startup procedures. So I mean, in this situation, you can actually go through different aspects, and you can make it work for you. It's really neat, and it saves you a ton of money, and it does. So this is what happens there, and you know, I don't know why I just went new flight again, but so now we're going to hit new flight again. I'm going to go through here, P37. So we're going to start at that ramp level, P37, which I'll show you what P37 is. Hopefully this thing takes you there. It should, because I wanted to make sure that I hit all the different areas. Come on. So weather, you can, I usually put it like VFR clouds, because you don't get clear weather all the time. And you get the time of day. You can actually change the time of day, whatever you want. So remember, UTC is Zulu time, right? So that's what that is. So that's kind of nice. And then you can actually start your flight. Or if you see up here, and this is where, let's go back here just for a second. I just want to go back. Up. Yeah. See right here. I'm sorry, that's my logo. My logo's a problem there. Let me see if I can. Now, the logo is blocking it, which sucks. But anyways, there's an area here where you can do configuration, which is really nice. It's right behind here. You'll see it. It looks like an equalizer type thing. So there. So I wanted to go to you have general, sound, graphics, network, data output. Now, this is also cool. If you go to data output, you can actually see the data that's output from the different controls and from all the different instruments as like a heads-up display on the left-hand side of the screen, which is really neat. So you can see the different aspects, the magnetos, the magneto output, the voltage, all that stuff. So I got a Thundermaster a Thrustmaster stick, which is kind of cool because it has got the yaw capability. It goes, if you turn it this way, you actually have yaw, which was kind of neat because I didn't have to have rudder pedals. But then I found that I do need rudder pedals, so I got myself a set of very realistic helicopter rudder pedals. It cost me a couple $100, but don't tell my wife, okay? So I mean, I'm trying to do this as realistic as possible. But you have your pitch, your roll, all these different things, and you see here it has a response curve. Now, all here also it has control sensitivity. So we'll go through both of those as we go along here, which is actually kind of neat. But you can see that all these areas, and you can check your pitch, you can check your roll, your throttle. That's my throttle here. Your stick twist is going to be your yaw, but I can have it whatever I want. And notice I checked that. And then I have the different buttons. And the different buttons, I decided to set number two as my throttle governor off, which, to tell the truth, I think I set it on number six. Sorry, so six. So six is my throttle governor, which is good, and I set seven as my carb heat toggle because I just don't want to mess with I don't want to mess with it. So I decided to set to those buttons. You can set to whatever buttons you want, but the governor is important and the carb heat is important. So I thought I'll set those buttons, and then I won't set any of the buttons, which actually works for me. So I had a lot of different things. Now this is kind of cool. This is called a response curve. So I have a pitch axis response curve. I can set this response curve linear. I can set a cubic. So there's different curves I can set, which helps me to mimic as close as possible to the actual controls on that helicopter. This is the coolest thing ever. The fact that I can set that response curve and I can do it over and over and over and over and over again. So I can set it. The thing you have to remember though on this is when you get to this point, you put this over top of that button, just left click on it and that button will get larger, and then you can put it up and down. The same thing here, you put it up and down. So what does it do? Basically it says, okay, I'm starting here at 0, but I could start at 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, right? And then what happens is that as I go to 100% of that. So if I'm pitching to the left, I'm going 100% left if I'm up here. I'm going 0% left if I'm down here. So I have to make sure that that's set the way I want it to set. How do you test it? Well, after you hit apply, what you're going to do is you're going to fly and see how it works. See if it works for you. If you wreck it, whatever else happens. So I mean, it's really the response curve. I'm sorry, but I've tried Flight Simulator. I don't know if Flight Simulator has this. I looked for it; it didn't have it. But I mean, you can set this thing to whatever you want. It's really, really cool. Roll axis, I can set my roll axis, my pitch axis, my throttle. I can set my collective. I can set whatever I want to that response curve. So the nice thing about it is most of the time you see how that works. So now when you see this, I'm not at 1 here. I'm only 30% when I have that stick all the way forward or all the way backward. So the best I can do is 30%. And that's, to tell the truth, that helps to keep the thing from going nuts, when you have a very sensitive stick, right? So I mean, this is the best. And the thing is, if you want to clear all this, you can clear all this stuff. Oh, this is calibrating. So calibrating, you're just calibrating the stick just to make sure everything is good to go. So there's your yaw, there's your pitch, there's your roll. You're basically doing all the axes. You hit next, yeah, and then you calibrate it. And it's just really, really easy calibration. Boom, done. Now, let's say you want, we just went to the control sensitivity. I'm just going to back this up just a teeny bit. So here you have control sensitivity here. This is going through calibration again, but this is control sensitivity. We're going to do that next. Let's say you don't want to mess with editing response curves or any of that stuff. You don't want any of that. What you do is you clear these out, because you got to clear that out first. Clear these out so that there's nothing there, and then hit control sensitivity, and then you can hit your control response to whatever you want. Pitch, roll, whatever it is. And it says here, these settings may be overridden on a per axis basis by a custom response curve. So what happens is and then remember I had an active profile here, so this will save it to the R22 active profile. But this will not take place until you clear the response curve, the active response curve that you have. So, but I mean, I challenge anybody to go out and see this in Flight Simulator. I mean, Flight Simulator is fantastic from the standpoint of graphics and all that stuff, but it doesn't allow the pilot to sit back and do what it needs to do, what they need to do. This is the, I have an actually handheld brake that I converted into a collective. Really works well. And again, I'll show you the firmware in another episode. But this is, this is cool because you can set the collective axis response too, which is nice. Now this will not come up in any of the pitch, roll, or yaw. So whatever you set here is going to be what you have set. So once you have all that done and you're set to go, you can set where you want to start. In this case, I set on the ramp. It would set me on a runway. I want to set on the ramp, and I want to set a P37, which is your ramp spot. See, runway, I just hit it. If I love the way I can zoom in. See, I think so. This P37, I think I set it. I think I hit it runway at one point in time, and then yeah, there it is. Runway. I don't want that one. I want this one. Okay, so that's kind of nice. So I can set the ramp. I can check the windsock. I can do all the things that I do normally when I'm flying the helicopter, and understand what I'm doing. Except I'm doing solo, which is kind of nice because now I'm not getting solo time for this, but I'm understanding a lot more of what it's like to fly alone. So that's kind of nice. Different things you can do. You can do get me lost. Carrier approach. Carrier. Why would I want to do that? I don't know on a helicopter. But anyways, so that's basically what's going on there. And then I go back, make sure everything is good to go, and then I can start my flight. When I start my flight, it's going to do everything for you. Basically, it's going to sit back and figure out what's going on. And then what it'll do is it'll start as if you're on the ramp. You just finished your pre-flight outside. You're going to go inside, and you're going to start the startup procedures. And then, as I told you the last time on this, we're going to run through that checklist, and we're going to run through what's going on there. And that will hopefully help you to understand a lot more about what's going on. So it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, especially when you're talking about this area. So, this I always dump out. I don't do networking on X-Plane 12. I just don't. It's not, I just don't do that. So I come down. First thing I do is I check my brake. I make sure my brake is yep, that's out. I check the light. I make sure the light is out. I come down. I check to make sure that the fuel is on. It's got to go this way for the fuel to be on. So check that off, on. Okay, looking good. I will run my hand virtually across the circuit breakers here to make sure that's good. Then I'll check the controls. I'll check the controls to make sure that the controls are free. They're okay, looking good there. Check the collective. Okay, looking good here. Check the rudders, the anti-torque pedals. Make sure that those are good. And if they're not, then there's something wrong with the connection. I need to go back and figure out and make sure everything's good to go. So that's good to go there. Everything seems to be all right. So the next thing I'll do is I will, just to make sure, I'll call out clear. I will, take and lower the rich from lean to rich. Make sure it's full rich. And then after that, then I will go ahead. See, this is interesting. I tried to look at this. I tried to start up the thing. I turned on the master switch, and here I am messing with the key, and I forgot to put the thing to rich. So yeah, dummy me, right? So I'm checking everything, finding what's going on here. It's kind of funny. I have the master switch on, right? You can see I have the master switch on. Oh, I see what it was. My collective wasn't set correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and calibrate it. This is kind of neat. You can do this in the middle of a flight, wouldn't be able to do it normally, right? So you do that, that kicks off, finish that, go back, because I was getting a low RPM. I was getting a low RPM light. It was actually beeping. So, and that's one thing I check. So everything seems to be okay. Um, Again, you know, I think I had problems with this collective, and I think that's probably why. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is up here still showing. I mean, and it's funny because it's so my clutch light is on, which it should be. So I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna see. I think it's because I had this set for linear. Remember that, and you can adjust these response curves at any time during the pre-flight, which is kind of nice. So I can set that so it won't go crazy on me. I mean, and then what happens is that I wanted to raise that up just a little bit. Ah, I see. So yeah. Hmm. So I don't know if I'm still getting the alarm or what's going off at that point in time. Evidently I didn't. So I did. There it's down. I will start it up, and then I'll check to make sure that I get. There we go. Okay, pressure's up. Good. Oil pressure's good. Coming up in the green. Everything looks good. I don't have my strobe on. I got to turn that on. Okay. Check everything. Everything's looking good. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and set my throttle up to 55. If I can get it there. 55. Check, make sure everything is off that I need. Turn on my alternator, and then click on my clutch, and that'll kick in that. Sometimes what I try to do is I try to reset this clock. Pain in the butt, but I try to reset it, and this way it gives me a good solid. There we go. Now I should turn on my alternator, and I should hit my clutch. Should. Oh, I see what I did. I turned on my carb heat. Okay. Okay, here we go. Come on, Chris. So I should turn on this and then my clutch. But I'm putzing around doing something. I don't know what I'm doing here. But I mean, it's so. I mean, come on, you're wasting time here, Chris. Let's go. So I have this. Just going to check. I think I'm setting everything. This is kind of cool because you can actually, if you click on this, it'll come up and it'll give you the full one, and you can actually set this. So I need to set it to 118.325, I think it is, and 123.000. I think that's the COM one. So that'll give me the weather on the 118 side, and it'll give me the communications on the COM side. So yeah, that's close enough. I think I can't remember. I have to look it up on the chart. Should have looked it up on the chart. Bad, Chris, bad. And then it's 123. I'm good to go. So then I kill this and make sure the altimeter is correct, which it is. And I should be able to kick this in and kick this clutch in, and we'll let that go. Turned on the strobe. Turned on that light. There you go. There's my alternator, and there's my clutch. This should start turning in 5 seconds. 1, 2, there we go. Okay, good. We're starting to go here. You're gonna have to increase the throttle. Throttle's coming, coming down. Got to increase the throttle. Increase, 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 increase. There we go. And now there you go. There's your line come up. Looking good. Everything's still looking good. Going in the green. Everything's green here. Got half tank, which I would never have. I'd have full tanks at all time, I think. So that's coming up. That's looking good. Okay. Now comes your checks. I'm gonna do your magneto checks. So I'll check magnetos on both sides. Make sure everything's good there. There we go. Yeah, I want to see it. So come on, where's your checks? Remember, it goes 1,001, 1,002, no more than 7%. Okay. Okay, back up. Then 1, 2, then over and back. There you go. Now this is going to take a little bit more out of power because a lot more goes into the right than the left. Comes back up. And again, altimeter is correct. Everything looks good. Okay, that should have a lock on there. I'd put a lock on there. Everything else does look good. Okay, we're going to turn on the governor, which I think we did. I should turn on the governor here. Clutch light is out, of course. Governor's off. As soon as I hit the governor, that governor on, that light will come out, and then we'll be good to go. I check the carb heat on and off. This light should go out here. Oh, sprag check. So I got to do a sprag check, make sure the lines come down separately. So you basically you kill the power, comes down, good. Sprag check is good. That comes back up to 75%. Okay, this light should go out. Governor will come on, and then this will. There's your There's your governor. There's your governor on. Governor light is out. This comes up, and now it automatically comes up. There's your. Okay, so everything is as it is, which is kind of nice. I don't have to spend a lot of money, just doing this stuff. I can get it to the point where I'm good to go, right? So now it's just basically flying the aircraft. So that's really it. I mean, um, you'll fly the aircraft after that, and that'll be that. It's kind of cool, really. I mean, when you think about it, it gives it a really nice way to do things. So real quick, what I wanted to do was, now that I've hit that, and that's the demo. We'll have another demo later on. What we'll do is I wanted to cover just real quick in the last 2 minutes I have. I'd like to cover some geography, just real quick. Just take me 2 seconds. And the first thing I want to cover is right now we're having a really hard time in Africa, specifically Ethiopia. So here's the problem. So here's Ethiopia here, right? And interestingly enough, Djibouti's here, Ethiopia's here. Now, Ethiopia has zero coastline because Eritrea took it all this coastline. Well, Ethiopia has no ports. They have no ports. They have nothing. So it's really hard for them to they don't have a navy, they don't have ships, right? Because Eritrea took it all. So what they want is this thing called Somaliland, and Somaliland is this area right in here of Somalia. And Somalia says they own it. Ethiopia says, well, you never really took it. So, I mean, we kind of own it. And what's happening is that they're trying to get port areas. They're trying to get port areas in Somaliland. And interestingly enough, and if I put Somaliland, Somalia, right? And then I search for it. Interesting enough, there's Somaliland right here. So, I mean, this is Somaliland, right? So they want the Somaliland area to be able to get access to ports. And that's where you're going to have some issues. They're not going to be happy about that. So what's happening is Somalia is saying no, and Ethiopia is saying yes. So they're going to come to the point where there's going to be some issues there. And that's it. That's all I want to cover in geography. So until next time, this is Chris Greco, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching. And always try to lead with love, right? Learn, offer, value, educate. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Take care.